So, we may have come across the single most important lore-altering question from the entirety of the Percy Jackson universe, and we're certain that you all have personal stakes involved in figuring out whether or not Annabeth Chase can play Minecraft. This is a question that gets a bit more complicated once we actually start diving into it, because we have to understand how demigods are able to use technology. But while we get into that, go down to the comments and tell us about your coolest Minecraft build. We'll add some footage of our writer's base in his realm, and we'd love to see all what you guys have to come up with. But while you do that, let's talk about the relationship between demigods and technology. I want to call you an idiot, but you're just fascinating to me, Devin. This is an excuse for you to talk about your Minecraft base. We know that cell phones are a huge no-go for half-bloods because they attract every monster within 100 miles, and any demigod who uses a phone has to do so sparingly. Annabeth has a phone, though she hardly ever uses it for just this reason, and as the series goes on, we know that technology becomes harder and harder to use. In The Lost Hero, Chiron reveals that he has a sort of celestial bronze Faraday cage in the big house that allows him to hook up a computer. But even within the safety of the big house, using the best protection that the Festus cabin can provide, Piper's only able to spare a couple of minutes on a video call with her father. We do, however, know that the big house has a couple of arcade games, including Mr. D's personal favorite, which is Miss Pac-Man. And this is the crux of our understanding of demigods and their relationship with technology. It's important to distinguish between which technology sends out a signal by interacting with cell towers or the internet, and technology that is completely self-contained, like an arcade game that has no virtual access to the outside world. This means that it's completely possible that the Hermes cabin is running an underground smuggling operation where they specifically are targeting the original DS or Game Boy, which don't have any internet access whatsoever. It also likely means that demigods can still watch movies as long as they have physical media like discs or VHS tapes, and this is supported by the fact that Camp Half-Blood has an introductory video. Although we never get to see the film in the mainline series, we do get to see it much more in depth in the Camp Half-Blood Confidential companion novel. So if they can watch this movie, then it's likely that non-network DVD players should still be fine. Which brings us to one of the most notable pieces of technology in the series, which is Daedalus's laptop. Also, side note, in The Lost Hero, when Piper first gets to the Aphrodite cabin, a bunch of them have posters of movies that her dad has been in, which would imply that either they have seen those beforehand, or they've seen those as demigods and have actively been watching movies while they have known that they're demigods. We know the brilliant inventor was a demigod himself, a son of Athena, to be precise, and he was able to create a completely safe way to use a modern laptop, which he later passed down to Annabeth when he destroyed the labyrinth. We don't know much about the laptop, and we don't know if it can access the internet, but let's begin with what we do know about it. We know that it serves as a complete archive of Daedalus's ideas, and in The Last Olympian, Annabeth says that she could spend the next 50 years deciphering all of his ideas and schematics, but we also know that it can run an assortment of different programs. In The Mark of Athena, Frank gets himself stuck in a Chinese finger trap, and he shrinks himself down into a gecko in order to escape. Afterwards, he goes to Annabeth's bunk to ask for advice. She then pulls up a 3D modeling software that can simulate a Chinese finger trap, and she later shows this same thing to Arachne when she talks her into weaving a much larger version. So far, everything we see her doing on the laptop can be self-contained and doesn't require internet access. But then again, neither does Minecraft aside from a few key instances. First, she has to navigate to the initial download, which does require access to the internet. If we operate under the idea that Daedalus's laptop has a magic amount of storage space, as evidenced by all the ideas that are stored on the computer, as well as a magically augmented CPU, as evidenced by the speed at which she can create a fully woven figure trap model, then perhaps this initial download can be magically sped up. Even so, she doesn't necessarily have to be in the vicinity of the laptop while the download is happening, and Percy even calls out a very similar idea during the Battle of Manhattan, when he's handing out assignments to the cabin leaders. He tells them to keep in touch, and Selena points out that they don't have cell phones. Percy's solution is that they take a phone off of one of the sleeping pedestrians, and then they call Annabeth and quickly drop the phone and run before the monsters can hone in on their location. So they target the phone, but the demigod is already long gone. They would know of it, where Annabeth is at all times then, though. If everybody is pinging off of Annabeth, and it works like a cell phone tower GPS system like you can use in forensic data, then every monster knows where Annabeth is. Because all of the phones are pinging off of her. That's a terrible idea. I never caught that before, but that's a terrible idea. Theoretically, Annabeth is smart enough to find a safe place to keep the laptop, initiate the download, and then book it before the monsters show up. As long as the laptop is hidden, then whatever monsters come by wouldn't be able to find her if she's already gone. And then she can come back later and retrieve the computer once the game is installed. Then she disconnects it from the internet and returns to camp with a brand new game. As long as she doesn't start a realm that requires a connection to the internet, then she should be fine. Though this unfortunately means that she wouldn't be able to play any multiplayer with Piper and Hazel. As a side note, we absolutely know that if such a thing were possible, Annabeth would build the base, Hazel would be the miner and cave diver, and Piper would do all of the interior decoration and farm building. Unfortunately, right now, the restrictions on demigods and technology means that they can't play on the same world, but maybe they'll find a loophole somewhere down the line. Hazel would also absolutely get a horse. As for Annabeth's single-player world, however, the only time she'd need prolonged internet connection is when she had to download updates. But there's technically nothing to suggest that she needs to consistently update it if she's fine playing on the older versions. It's also not like she could easily find out about an update's features, since she'd have to attend Minecon in person because, again, she can't use the internet to look up what the next updates will entail. So if she doesn't find out about the features and isn't incentivized to download later versions of the games, then she's probably fine. Even if she wanted to download updates, she could probably do the same thing she did to download the game in the first place. But doing so more often is increasingly dangerous, and we don't think that she would run the risk, especially given the fact that Minecraft has sometimes been known to release multiple updates per year, and we don't think it makes much sense to have her keep herself up on every single update, especially given that the game already has everything she could ever want. As we mentioned before, she's absolutely a builder. And Minecraft has a massive array of block palettes for her to play with. But this is all before we take into account the most important question that we haven't even considered yet, which is, even if she could download Minecraft, would she want to? Yes, the answer is yes. She would absolutely love it, but that's our breakdown on whether or not Annabeth could download and play Minecraft, and the answer right now is theoretically yes, but the download would probably be dangerous, and she'd have to be smart about it. But let us know what you think. We love doing some of these weirder videos, so if you guys like this sort of thing, be sure to let us know. As always, we love this series, we love talking about this series, and we'd love to have you join in on the conversation down below. Take care, demigods, and we'll see you in the next one. It also begs the question of, they can go to movie theaters, can't they? Because they're not actually interacting with the media at all. And it also begs the question, is it the actual interaction with the media, or like with the device that causes it? So like, could Rachel, not a demigod, call somebody on the phone and like be a liaison, like have the person stand a couple feet away, be like, yeah, they want to know if you like pepperoni on your pizza? Yeah, this is the address, and completely help them with that. In addition to that, then, if it's the demigod having to interact directly to the device that has internet connection on, causing the, signal more or less to go up, there's a lot of things they could probably do. Like, they can't use Google, but they could have Rachel Google something for them. Because she doesn't have the same, demigod signal shit that happens. I don't know. There's a lot of questions that this brings up.